Hi, my name is Joseph Flukiger, and I'm going to explain the TraceFinder Translator Utility. This utility basically allows you to translate TraceFinder into the language of your choice, any of the languages supported by Windows. Basically, what this application does is solves a problem that exists in translating application, which is the need to have both developers and end users involved. It allows the end users to themselves to interrogate which resource strings are available for translations and then translate those and then start TraceFinder in that target language. So basically, the task that the TraceFinder Translator does is generate localized resource translations. It also uses Google Translation to auto-translate some text as a first pass, which can then be adjusted by an end user who may know a better translation or a domain-specific translation, and also allows translations to be saved into a file and shared with other users. And eventually we'll have those available on mytracefinder.com for download for use by any end user who wants to apply that translation that another user has created. So basically, you can start TraceFinder Translator by opening up one of the existing files. You can see that the locale, the number of translation items, and notes are the three pieces of metadata associated with that file. So for example, I'll open this up the Spanish translation. I can then use the filtering at the top to filter down by non-blank, blank, exact match, or contains options in the search text. And I can search in the key, the English, or the translated text. So in this case, I'm going to search for batch in the English translation, and I'm going to do an exact match. So you can see that the word batch is in the application 18 times. Down here we have the total number of items, the number of assemblies, which is the number of DLL or executable files that are found in the TraceFinder directory, and then filtered is the number of items that appear in the grid after the filter has been applied. This drop down here is the target language. There are all the languages that are available in the Windows operating system, quite a few. These are all supported. You additionally have the ability to then perform an auto-translation through the Google Translation Service, and that will pass the text into the translation API and allow you to translate it. So let's say I want to translate these items. I highlight them in the grid and then press Translate Selected, and it will translate them into that target language. I can then save, and let's open up Chinese. Here I have 3,000 Chinese translations. You can see that some items do not get translated because they're not recognized by the translation service as a word. But I can come in here and type anything that I want to. I can hit enter, type, enter, type, enter, type. So the grid is optimized for fast translation. So let's go ahead and open up TraceFinder in Chinese. It says TraceFinder is running, so let's stop TraceFinder. And now we can open up TraceFinder. So it will go through all the strings that I've translated, generate the translation files, the resource files, put those in the correct directory so TraceFinder can pick them up, and then start TraceFinder. And you can see that TraceFinder is now in Chinese for the strings that I've translated. I haven't quite translated everything, but this includes file dialogues, batch templates, error messages, reports. If I want to view it in Spanish, I can open up the Spanish translation and then open TraceFinder in Spanish. If you want to see the detail of what's going on behind the scenes, you can show the show detail, and this will give you all the technical details about what's happening behind the scenes. It will show you the directory that it's generating the resource files in, which is a subdirectory of that language, and a resource file for each one of the corresponding to each one of the assemblies in TraceFinder. And here is TraceFinder in Spanish. You can see at the top it shows the language in parentheses. This is a result of checking this include language in the TraceFinder title bar. If you uncheck that, that will not show up, but it helps you to know which version, which language you're running TraceFinder in. In addition, you have the More button that you can select, which will show these advanced search options. This is useful if you want to find a particular piece of text. Say I wanted to search for response threshold, which I know is in the CDB. I can do a contains, and that will give me response threshold. If I want to do an exact match, I can do exact match, and then I could translate and select a text. This one's already translated for me. But then once I know that this is a CDB piece of text, but I can push this filter button, and that will apply, basically just populate this search resource and this exact match. And then if I can remove the text, that will then give me all of the CDB specific text, which is nice for showing all the text. Another good example of that is batch templates. So if I search for batch templates, clear this, it contains English. So I can see that this is what I'm looking for right here. This is the form specifically associated with the batch template form. So if I then filter by this resource and clear my search text, and I can get all the text associated with that particular form, and I can then translate that form all in one shot. Very useful. In addition, you have the help link, which will open you up to the TraceFinder online help page for the translation utility. And you have an options dialog, which is not yet populated, but will have various options. For example, which domain to run TraceFinder in, how many translations what the maximum translations you can perform at a time are, etc. Which will open up the folder in which the translation files are stored in, which is C TraceFinder data, templates, translations. Also note that there's a backup file. Every time you save a translation, a backup is created with the date associated with that. So if you do overwrite a file accidentally, or lose some piece of data for whatever reason, there are those backups that you can go to. If you want to get a translation from someone else, you can just drop the translation file into this folder, and then it will show up in the open dialog. Note that there is currently a maximum of 500 on the number of translations that you can apply, as this service does cost money to run, but it is a very small amount, and that maximum amount can be adjusted. I hope that this video has been helpful, and that this tool is useful in translating TraceFinder into the language of your choice. Let us know if you have any questions, and we'll talk to you soon.